Welcome, folks. I am Jabby Kaway, joined by Char Kirk.
What's up?
The Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp defamation trial is still ongoing, and there are some new clips here from the internet, from the YouTube, that we are going to look at and give our thoughts on. Before we jump into this, I wanted to acknowledge those of you guys who were vehemently frustrated with Jabby Kaway and perhaps with Char Kirk for even, looking at this content and putting our reaction out there. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this. Like, I am very well aware of the gravity and the nature of this trial. Some people were saying, just a few were like, you're looking at this as if you're looking at Marvel content and it's weird. It's like, well, I grew up watching Johnny Depp, and I was a big fan of his. So it's not that weird to me. And we are looking at this stuff anyway, and people are asking for our opinion. And so might as well share it in this format that we are used to. Now, I know that bothers some of you. And for those of you that are greatly bothered, I apologize. And it's just like, we are just being transparent and giving our thoughts honestly as we can. If you don't like the content, if you don't like this particular content, I would say that maybe just don't click on it or downvote it. If you don't like it, you can downvote it. I still see the downvotes. Most people watching us understand that we understand the seriousness of this, and we are not making light of it. It's not a joke to us. There are funny moments in this trial, but the overall nature of this is not a joke to us.
It's more funny because of absurdity.
Yes.
More than anything.
Absurd moments within the trial.
Yeah.
This is something Char and I are looking at anyway. So if it's going to consume our time, we might as well put our opinion out there. That's what this is about. We are not lawyers. That's not lost on us. We don't know the full extent of the law. That's not lost on us. And we were not there for any of this. We are observing this just like you guys. And this is our honest, transparent reaction to it. Take that as you will. If you don't like it, you can either just not watch it or you can downvote it, and that's up to you. So here we go. So the first video we are looking at says, Amber Heard caught lying under oath, CAMILLE VASQUEZ cross-examination.
Ooh. And the final payment of $2.3 million is on February 1st, 2018, right?
The final payment, yes.
And you were here in court when Mr. White testified that the payments were all made on schedule.
I'm going to object to her testifying to what Mr. White testified to. It's improper.
Objection. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
And you were here in court when Mr. White testified that the payments were all made on schedule, right?
I don't believe they were. He might have testified to that.
That's not my question, Ms. Heard. My question was, you were here in court when Mr. White testified under oath that all the payments were made on schedule.
I was here every day in court. I heard his testimony, yes.
Okay. So back to October of 2018, this was before Mr. Depp sued you for defamation, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
He didn't sue you until after the op-ed came out in December of 2018, right?
He sued me in 2019.
And the op-ed came out in December of 2018.
That is correct.
So in October of 2018, you had received your entire $7 million divorce settlement. You would agree with me?
That is correct.
Okay. And you hadn't yet been sued by Mr. Depp?
This is October, correct.
So in this October 2018 interview, you said that you had, quote, donated, end quote, your entire divorce settlement to charity, right?
That's correct.
And in fact, your exact words were, quote, $7 million in total was donated to, I split it between the ACLU and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, end quote, right?
That's correct. I made that statement as soon as I got a divorce and we reached the settlement. That's when I pledged it, right then.
And you say this because you, quote, wanted nothing, end quote.
That is correct.
But you hadn't donated your entire $7 million settlement to charity at that point, had you?
That's incorrect.
Oh. Sitting here today, Ms. Heard, you still haven't donated the $7 million divorce settlement to charity. Isn't that right?
Incorrect. I pledged the entirety of the settlement, $7 million to charity, and I intend to fulfill those obligations.
Ms. Heard, that's not my question. Please,
what was
try
your
to
question?
answer my question. Oh. Sitting here today, you have not donated the $7 million, donated, not pledged, donated, right, the $7 million divorce settlement to charity.
I use pledge and donation synonymous with one another. But
I don't. Ms. Heard?
No.
I don't use it synonymously.
That's how donations are paid.
Ms. Heard, respectfully, that's not my question. As of today, you have not paid $3.5 million of your own money to the ACLU. Yes or no?
I have not yet.
And as of today, you have not paid $3.5 million of your own money to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, correct?
I have not yet. Johnny sued me.
So as of today, you have not paid $7 million of your divorce settlement to charity, right?
I have not been able to fulfill those obligations yet.
After the week-long break, I wasn't sure which way things were swinging, but I started glancing at articles of what more professional, more astute people were feeling, and they're like, the way this is going right now, it's actually swinging way more in Amber Heard's favor. Given the nature of the story she was telling, I'm not going to get into the validity of her story. Whatever you feel about that, let's just leave that aside. What matters is she told a story that it was very serious in nature.
Yeah, her allegations were incredibly serious, and that was a huge bombshell, and that changed everything. This part is crucial for Johnny Depp's lawyers to come in, provide evidence. The basis of this trial is Amber Heard's op-ed cost Johnny Depp opportunities.
Right. What I'm feeling in the moment, like moment to moment right now, is Amber Heard like trying her best to navigate these very, very difficult waters. Camille Vasquez is like, no, we are going right on target here.
I'm just amazed.
It's uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable because she's not letting her get away with semantics, trying to say like, oh no, I pledged it. There's a big difference between saying you're going to pledge and that you actually donated.
And that's because you did want something, didn't you?
I didn't want anything and I didn't get anything.
You wanted Mr. Depp's money.
Didn't get it, wasn't interested in it. I loved Johnny, that's why I was with him.
You wanted praise for donating the money, right?
That's incorrect.
You wanted good press.
In general, one does want good press, yes.
You wanted to seem altruistic publicly.
Wasn't my interest. My interest is in my name and clearing my name, and at the time I was being called a liar and my motives were being questioned. I did see it as important to clear that up. I wanted to make a statement to make sure that there was not any doubt that I couldn't be labeled these things just because Johnny was a bigger star and had more publicity reach.
You wanted to remind everyone of your claims of domestic violence against Mr. Depp, right?
No, I wanted to move on with my life.
You wanted to make those claims seem believable.
They are believable. They were
You wanted
believable.
them to be seen, you wanted to be seen, as a noble victim of domestic violence,
I have
didn't you?
never wanted to be seen as a victim. Nor have I ever called myself one.
You testified under oath that, quote, the entirety of your divorce settlement was donated to charity, end quote, didn't you?
That's correct. I pledged the entirety.
No. Ms. Heard, my questions. Your counsel will have time to redirect you after.
Oh.
You testified under oath, quote, the entirety of your divorce settlement was donated to charity, end quote.
That is correct. I pledged the entirety.
I'm going to move to strike everything after yes.
All right.
There's nothing to strike here.
No. Ms. Hurt, this is really inappropriate.
I'll sustain the objection and we'll just move forward.
Thank you.
Let's move forward. Next question.
Wow.
Wow.
Under oath, that statement wasn't true, was it, Ms. Heard?
I'm sorry, I don't follow your question. Sorry.
You testified under oath, quote, the entirety of my divorce settlement was donated to charity, end quote. That statement wasn't true.
It is true. I pledged the entirety to charity.
The statement...
When you say you buy a house, you don't pay for the entire house at one
respectfully,
time. You pay it
I'm
over
not
time.
asking, Ms. Heard.
All right. Next question, please.
Thank you. That statement isn't true today, as you sit here today, is it?
It is true. I pledged the entirety.
But you didn't donate it.
Unfortunately,
you didn't donate it. It's a yes or no.
I haven't been able to to fulfill those obligations.
So that's a no, right, Ms. Heard?
I made the pledge. I want to be very clear. I pledged the entirety. I haven't been able to fulfill those pledges because I've been sued.
You had all of the $7 million for 13 months before Mr. Depp sued you, and you chose not to pay it to the charities.
Oh my gosh.
You pledged it to. Is that correct, Ms.
I
Heard?
disagree with your characterization of that.
Wow.
It's a bad look. Ooh, that was uncomfortable. she's making a very good point. It's very important that she gets that across, and she's not allowing Amber to divert. It's a simple yes or no answer. Did you pay the money that you pledged?
The thing about it is, when you're in a situation like that of legal matters, whatever side you're on, whatever the case might be, lawyers are often trying to get you to answer a question in the way that they desire. She's trying to nail it down and make it black and white. I can see what Amber's trying to do. It's like, it's not black and white for Amber. What she's saying actually makes a degree of sense. I can see the argument that Amber Heard is trying to make, and I can see what Vasquez is trying to do here, which is, simply put, did you give the money that you said you would? No, you didn't.
The divorce settlement happened in October. The op-ed didn't come out until December.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so
there's plenty of time.
Yeah. If the narrative that Amber Heard is presenting here is that she never wanted anything from Johnny Depp, she just loved him. When she received the money, if it was so abhorrent to her to have this at all, when all she wanted from the relationship was love, why wouldn't she just right away be like, I don't even want this money in my account? Boom.
Who knows why? No, it's not a good look, and I can see that it's a terrible look, in fact, but who knows why? Like, what's going on in Amber Heard's day-to-day after a divorce, between that and doing the op-ed and whatnot? It's like, who knows why that money was sitting in her account? Is it because she wasn't serious about her pledge? Maybe. Is it because she just didn't get around to it in time? Maybe. There's any number of reasons that could factor into why, but like, looking at the facts as they are now in a very black and white format,
it kind of gives the impression that she's not truthful.
We have another clip here. It says, Amber Heard continues to abuse Johnny Depp publicly. His lawyer snaps.
Mr. Depp hasn't looked at you once this entire trial, has he?
Not that I've noticed, no.
You've looked at him, though, many times, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You know exactly why Mr. Depp won't look back at you, don't you?
I do.
He promised you you would never see his eyes again. Isn't that true?
I don't recall if he said that.
One of the last times you ever saw Mr. Depp was when you met him in San Francisco in July of 2016, right?
That was the second to last time I saw him, yes.
And this was after you had publicly accused him of domestic violence.
I got my restraining order before that, yes. Mm-hmm.
And this is after you had obtained the domestic violence restraining order against him.
That's correct.
Let's please play Plaintiff's Exhibit 1229.
I don't understand. Is this what you want?
No. Oh, no, a hug will save it all. All this, everything we just been
I just wanted to touch you.
Really? After all this shit you just said?
I just wanted to give you a hug.
After all this shit you fucking accused me of? You want to touch me?
Please stop me. Please stop.
You're fucking nuts.
Please, I just wanted to hug you and say bye. I didn't want to take it back.
We did that last night. It's fine. That was good enough. No, because I'm nothing to you, and I will always be nothing to you.
Calm.
What? You're not my friend.
Your hands are hot. Please just calm my heart.
No, you're in the fucking hole. No, we'll never see each other again. You won't don't take my fucking glasses off. You don't like fucking looking at not my fucking eyes? You will not see my eyes again.
Wow.
Let me try to contextualize this. This happened after the TRO was put into place, right?
TRO meaning temporary restraining order.
Yeah, and so she went to Johnny Depp, who she claimed she was afraid of because of reasons, and then she's making physical contact with him. Like he's saying in the video, don't touch my glasses, don't touch me. Presumably, he set up this recording. The thing I always ask myself is, who is recording this? Because whoever's recording this is going to behave differently, because subjects behave differently under observation. When they know they're being observed, they're going to behave differently, right? And so if he sets up this recording, he's going to behave in such a way that plays more to favor his character. If someone puts a TRO against me and then visits me, you're damn right I'm going to start recording that conversation, because I have no idea what's going to happen in that conversation. Like, I'm scared now, especially if I feel that all of the allegations are grossly false.
Clarify something for me. If you have a restraining order against yourself,
they're allowed to visit you.
Oh, they're allowed to visit you.
You can't come within like a certain footage proximity of them, but they can come into contact with you. It's like a one-way street. It's very weird.
Oh, I just assumed that it was on both parties to honor that.
The person who has a restraining order against them is the one who's not allowed to cross that line, but the person who initiated the restraining order can cross that line. That's my understanding of it. Yeah, she's not like doing anything illegal. It just doesn't look good.
On the one hand, it doesn't support this narrative of he's an awful person, he hurt me, and I'm afraid of him. But on the other hand, I can acknowledge that relationships are complicated, and for different people, like, it seems like she was trying to get some form of closure.
Yeah. If I was afraid of someone causing me bodily harm and I put a TRO on them or a full-blown restraining order, I'm not going to see them privately.
I'm in the same camp where I'm like, I just don't want to see you. That's why I put that on you.
That is me saying that while in a safe environment, not like bombarded with the complexities of that relationship. I'm saying that from this chair can, like, comfortably. If I'm in that situation, I don't know how I would behave because I haven't been in that situation. I haven't put a restraining order on anybody and been in that kind of relationship with millions of dollars hanging in the balance. All I can say is that in this headspace with clarity, I don't think I would come in within proximity of that person. I'd be too afraid.
That's you and Mr. Depp in that recording.
That is.
And this is from when you and Mr. Depp met in San Francisco in July of 2016, right?
Yes, that's what it sounds like. That was in the hotel. We met once after that as well.
This is after you publicly accused him of domestic abuse.
Yes, and got my TRO.
Yeah. And he tells you you will not see my eyes again, doesn't he?
Yes, he does in that recording.
And he kept that promise, hasn't he?
As far as I know, he cannot look at me.
He won't look at you, right, Miss Heard?
He can't.
It's not that he can't, it's that he won't.
One of the first questions your counsel asked you on direct is, why are you here? Do you remember that?
I do.
Let's please play Plaintiff Exhibit 357A, which is already in evidence, Your Honor. And for the record, it's 2122 through 2140.
Right, and see what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence, and yes. It's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
That's your voice on that recording, right?
Yes, it is.
And you were speaking with Mr. Depp?
Yes.
And you said to Mr. Depp, quote, you can please tell people that it was a fair fight and see what the jury and the judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them, Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp, a man, a victim too of domestic violence, end quote. That's what you said, right?
I was saying it to the man who beat me up, yes. I thought it was preposterous.
And the man you beat up numerous times. Right, Ms. Heard?
I could never hurt Johnny.
So a quick interjection, because I understand how that recording sounds in isolation. I did have the thought of perhaps she is saying this as a means of going, this preposterous idea.
Yeah.
You take anything out of context, even a voice recording, it could sound fucking awful. I'm not saying that she's right or wrong. I'm just like looking at all sides of the...
You didn't think he would tell the world he was a victim of domestic violence, did you?
I found it hard to believe that he could or that he would do that, considering the relationship he and I had. I thought it would be crazy for him to do so, knowing what I know we lived through.
Or, as you said to him in that recording, who was going to believe that Johnny Depp, a man, is a victim of domestic violence, right?
You can look either of us up online and figure out who's being abused online.
Let's look at some of that. Mr. Depp wears rings on every finger, doesn't he, Miss Heard?
That's my experience, yes.
Oh boy.
And they're not delicate rings, are they?
No, they are not.
Every one of his fingers is adorned, your words, big, chunky rings. Isn't that right?
Oh boy.
That's my experience of him.
And Mr. Depp is always wearing rings, right, Miss Heard?
That's my experience of him.
And you've never known him not to wear these rings?
That's my experience, is he normally wore rings, yes.
So Mr. Depp was wearing these big, chunky rings on every finger, every incident of abuse you've described to this jury, right?
I can't say for certain it was in every single incident.
I can see where this is going.
Ms. Heard, do you recall giving testimony in a deposition in this matter in January of this year?
I do.
Can we please play from your deposition, day 2.
You said he hit you and he was wearing rings, right, Ms. Heard? So he hit you with rings on every finger?
I don't know if I've ever known Johnny to not wear rings.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So Mr. Depp hit you in the face multiple times while he was wearing rings on this occasion, correct?
Which occasion in March are you referencing? You weren't
The
specific.
testimony that you gave on day 15 of this trial. You testified that this is a picture you took after that incident, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, that was one where he grabbed me.
And hit you in the face so many times that you don't remember. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And there's no injuries to your face in this picture, are there?
Not that this picture shows.
And there's no medical records reflecting that you sought treatment after this alleged incident either,
I did not seek medical treatment at this time.
despite hitting you several times that you lost count with rings on on his fingers.
That's correct. I did not seek medical attention.
That really doesn't look good.
No.
That looks... I could see exactly where that was going. The moment you started asking about the rings, I'm like, I see exactly where this is headed.
I almost wonder if Amber Heard knew that
she had to
too.
know.
Yeah,
like
it's
her lawyer, her team
Yeah.
had to prepare her for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I feel like, you know, both teams kind of know what's in store.
Right,
Like,
because they have to submit the evidence, right?
Correct. I'm just like wondering what her team advised her, like in this instance of like, this is likely what you're going to be asked during their cross-examination, because they usually prepare you.
Yeah.
They do a trial run. You know when you see like in TV shows where like a president he's preparing for a debate and like the potential questions that are going to, they do the same thing for trial.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, okay, what did her team tell her to say? That makes her look like a blatant liar. Like, she obviously has a bruise on her arm from whatever, but like the assumption is if someone is pounding you in the face with rings, it's going to do serious damage. Because I thought they were going to show an image of her with like something.
Yeah, like on her
but
face.
there was literally no such, there's nothing. There might have been, this is all conjecture, by the way.
Yeah.
There might have been instances where Johnny Depp did do something. This is an instance where she said he did something and he obviously didn't. Or at least not to the level that she's claiming, right?
Exactly.
And so,
I mean,
but
she has the bruise.
if you're lying about one thing,
Yeah.
it could look like you're lying about everything, even if you're not. That's where she's caught now. Oh, we have another clip here. It says Amber Heard warned of perjury risk after being accused of changing abuse allegation.
You were upset that Mr. Depp was late to your 30th birthday, weren't you?
I was.
You knew Mr. Depp had a scheduled business meeting or a money meeting that evening, right?
No, I knew he said he did. I didn't know if he had one. Addicts lie all the time.
So you didn't trust him?
I took it with a big grain of addict salt.
Okay. And Mr. Depp texted you that evening to let you know he'd be late, correct?
Yes, he did text me at some point.
It was a big deal to you that Mr. Depp was late to your birthday dinner, wasn't it?
Yeah, it did matter to me.
And you were upset he was late.
I was hurt.
And when he finally did arrive, you felt, quote, invisible to him, right?
I did.
The day after your birthday dinner, you and your friends went to Coachella to celebrate your birthday. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You made a video driving to Coachella with your friends, didn't you?
That is correct.
This is a video you made when you drove to Coachella with your friends for your 30th birthday, right?
That's correct. I'm not quite sure which one of us made the video, but that's correct.
You're featured in that video, driving.
That's correct.
And it's set to the song Miss You by the Rolling Stones, is that right?
That's correct.
That was a message for Mr. Depp, wasn't it?
No, that's ridiculous.
You consumed drugs at Coachella, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You took MDMA and mushrooms at the same time.
I did, yes.
And it made you feel sick, right?
I felt horrible, yes.
So you left Coachella.
Yes, that's correct.
You testified yesterday that when you left Coachella, you left with, quote, your entire group.
That is correct.
And you were, quote, never alone with Starling, right?
That is correct.
You weren't anywhere near him.
Not alone, no.
You sat here when Starling Jenkins testified that he collected you from Coachella when you were sick, right?
He picked up my entire group.
And Mr. Jenkins testified, quote, I collected her, got her in the vehicle. She didn't want anyone else to know that she was sick. Take her back to the Parker, which I assume was in reference to the hotel, alone. I took her to 7-Eleven where I retrieved hydrating fluids, Advil, and let her have those. Got her back up to the Parker, got her in the suite, and then went back to pick up everyone else.
Oh boy.
You were there when Mr. Jenkins testified. right?
Yes, he was wrong.
So it's your testimony that Mr. Jenkins is lying.
He's just wrong. I don't know what his intentions are. He was just wrong about that. We were a big group of us. I wasn't alone with him.
Isn't it possible that you don't remember correctly because you were sick from taking MDMA and mushrooms at the same time?
I remember everything about that night.
The most poignant one in this particular clip, you guys are seeing a way cut down version of what we're watching because it's just a lot. The most poignant thing was towards the end of that video, which is she says she was alone.
You mean she testified that she was never alone?
I'm sorry. She testified she was never alone. He's saying they were alone. Every little thing that they can catch her on, if there's holes in her story,
it doesn't look good. And then additionally, she doesn't outright say that he's lying, but she's saying that he was wrong.
They say that when you the first thing they always warn you about drinking and driving is the first thing to go when you're drinking is your judgment. Your judgment is the first thing to go. Presumably, because they're calling out the fact that she was high out of her mind, right?
That doesn't sound like a good combination.
I have no idea how your memory or your understanding of circumstances is taxed when you're high. I've only done weed. My memory is pretty strong of what went on when I'm high on weed. I haven't done anything beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I have no idea how it affects your memory, your perspective of the situation, what you believe to be true and untrue. It's just not a good look, is the easiest way to put it. It's like you said you were never alone, but there was clearly this instance where you were.
Yeah.
Every instance where they can poke holes, like I said earlier, if you can catch someone lying about one thing, it begs the question of what else are you lying about, and it creates
doubt.
It creates doubt. Yeah. This is the last thing we're going to look at. I misspoke is Amber Heard and Johnny Depp lawyer argue over target of op-ed.
You wrote this op-ed, right, Ms. Heard?
With the help of the ACLU, yes.
That's what you testified to in this courtroom, right?
That is correct.
And this was published on December 18th, 2018, correct?
That is correct.
Aquaman was released on December 21st, 2018, right?
Yes, that sounds correct.
And that was your first big blockbuster, big budget role, right?
Well, second time, yes.
What was your first time?
The first one was the film I talked about before. Yesterday, Justice League. It introduced the character. So, technically, it was the second one.
But you were the love interest in Aquaman, correct?
That is correct.
Right. Now, at least parts of this op-ed are about Mr. Depp, isn't that right?
It's about what happened to me after.
You sat here during opening statements when your attorney argued that the context of your statements in this op-ed matter, correct?
That's correct.
So let's go through some of that context. He wrote here, quote, "Friends and advisors told me I would never work again as an actress, that I would be blacklisted."
That is
You're
correct.
referring to your accusations of domestic violence against Mr. Depp in the statement, aren't you?
In general, I'm referring to being associated with domestic violence.
And you're referring to what you claim happened after you got an ex-parte domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp in May of 2016, right?
Are you asking me if that's what I was writing about?
That's what you're referring to, correct?
Can you just give me the question again? I'm sorry.
You're referring to what you claim happened after you got an ex-parte restraining order against Mr. Depp in May of 2016.
That's correct.
You also wrote, quote, "Questions arose as to whether I would be able to keep my role of Mira in the films Justice League and Aquaman." This is also referring to your accusations of domestic violence against Mr. Depp, right?
This is referring to what happened to me after I got my TRO, my restraining order.
Against Mr. Depp, right?
That is correct.
These questions arose only after you accused Mr. Depp of domestic violence in May of 2016, allegedly, right?
Yeah, from the time I got the TRO, being associated with domestic violence, that's what it's a reference to, yes.
You also wrote, quote, "Imagine a powerful man as a ship like the Titanic. That ship is a huge enterprise. When it strikes an iceberg, there are a lot of people on board desperate to patch up holes, not because they believe in or care about the ship, but because their own fates depend on the enterprise." In this op-ed, you're saying Mr. Depp is a ship, right?
I'm making an analogy to a powerful man as a ship.
The powerful man you're referring to in this analogy is Mr. Depp, right?
I was talking about a bigger issue, actually, than just Johnny. I was talking about what we as a country were talking about at the time of writing this, which is when powerful men in general do something horrible or something they shouldn't, how there is a system in place to protect them, clean up after them, maintain them afloat. You know, this is a reference to not just Johnny, it was about what was happening as a culture when we were addressing a lot of Me Too issues for the first time.
I feel like she's evasive with every single question, but that was a good response.
That was a good response.
Berg is you in this analogy, right, Ms. Heard?
I would not say that. That was not what I intended to know.
So this is another reference to your accusations against Mr. Depp.
No, this is about what happened to me once I left that relationship and got a TRO and became associated with domestic violence.
Right. But it's your testimony that this op-ed isn't about Mr. Depp, right?
It's about what happened to me after. That's correct.
It's about your experience after obtaining a temporary restraining order against Mr. Depp, right?
That is correct, among other things.
But it's not about Mr. Depp.
It is not about him.
Mr. Depp is making it about Mr. Depp, right?
Ironically.
It's kind of like that Carly Simon song, right, Ms. Heard?
I don't know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the defamatory statements in the op-ed.
I don't get the reference.
He wrote, allegedly in his own blood, the lyrics to the Carly Simon song, You're So Vain. You know that song?
I don't.
The lyrics.
But okay, I get the context
You're
now.
so vain, you probably think this song is about you.
Let's talk about the defamatory statements in the op-ed that you also claim are not about Mr. Depp. Then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. This is about Mr. Depp, isn't it?
No.
You wrote this in 2018, right?
Exactly.
And 2 years prior was 2016, right?
That's true.
Okay.
That's correct.
So
it's not about Johnny. It's about what happened to me
Ms.
after.
Heard, my question was May of 2016 is 2 years prior to December of 2018, correct?
That's correct.
All right. May 2016 is when you publicly accused Mr. Depp of domestic violence, right?
I got my restraining order at that time.
And you publicly accused Mr. Depp of domestic violence.
Yes, that was attached to my restraining order, so yes.
May of 2016 is when you sought a restraining order against Mr. Depp.
That's correct, and I had to provide testimony for that.
Right. And May 2016 is when you walked into court with a mark on your face to obtain that restraining order. Yes or no?
That was the day I walked into court with a bruise on my face, yes.
And you were photographed with that mark on your face, weren't you?
I walked out to a bunch of photographers, yes.
May 2016 is when you told the world that Mr. Depp had physically abused you during your relationship. Isn't that right?
That I had to provide testimony as part of my restraining order application, yes.
And that's how you became a public figure representing domestic abuse. Right, Ms. Heard?
From that point on, yes.
That's when you claimed you faced our culture's wrath,
That's
right?
when it started, yes.
But it's your testimony under oath that this statement is not about Mr. Depp.
It is not. It is about what happened to me afterwards. That's the more interesting thing for me to write about.
This seems fairly straightforward. The
correlation.
The idea that Vasquez is trying to argue here, right? Like that's what's been argued this entire time.
Yeah.
Is that by her talking, even if what Amber Heard says is true of like, no, it's not about him. It's about my experience during these 2 years. By extension, you are still talking about him.
Right, because you're talking about an experience that happened
as a result
that caused that result, right?
Yeah.
And so, tangentially, at the very least, you're talking about Johnny Depp.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm being myopic, but to me, there's no two ways about it. This is by extension about him, no matter how you slice it.
Her team were probably like, under no circumstances are you allowed to say at all that this was about him.
Right.
You have to say that this was about my experience afterwards. And that may well be, but as his lawyer and as we're saying,
I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. This is also about Mr. Depp, isn't that right?
Not just about him, but he is included in that, yes.
Gotcha.
He's the man you accused of abuse 2 years prior to this op-ed, isn't that right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, but I wrote this op-ed in the context of many men at the time that were public figures or in this public eye being accused as well. So it was a reference in general to a larger phenomenon, not just Johnny.
Not just Johnny.
Not just Johnny.
Okay. Which means it includes Johnny.
And then You write, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. This one's also about Mr. Depp.
I did not write that.
Well, you've accused Mr. Depp of sexual violence in this very courtroom, haven't you?
Yes, but I was intending to keep that private when this was published. I had not publicly ever accused him of that.
I'm going to move to strike everything after the word yes.
No, I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
You may not have written this title, but you published it, didn't you?
I did not publish the title. I retweeted the article that included the title in it because that was the article.
Let's pull up, please, Plaintiff's Exhibit 3, which is already in evidence. This is a tweet from your Twitter account on December 19th, 2018, correct?
That is correct.
Your Honor, oh, it's already in evidence?
It is in evidence.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So on December 19th, 2018, you tweeted, quote, today I published this op-ed in the Washington Post. Did I read that right?
That is correct.
And the tweet includes a link to the op-ed we were just looking at, correct?
That's correct.
And you can see that the title of the op-ed in your tweet is, quote, Opinion, Amber Heard. I spoke up against sexual violence. Right?
Yes, you don't get to change the title of an article you're retweeting.
But you said I published.
Yeah.
And that's the title that you put on your Twitter, correct?
I did not put it on my Twitter, no.
You linked it to your tweet.
I retweeted the article.
You published it.
I retweeted a link to an article that I wrote.
And you published it on your Twitter account. All right.
I retweeted it.
You testified yesterday that you didn't have any control over the title, and just now, of the op-ed when you retweeted it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
This wasn't a retweet, though, right?
A tweet? Perhaps not retweet. I'm not quite sure.
It was a tweet.
Tweet. I misspoke. Excuse me. Tweet, not retweet.
You included a link to the electronic copy of the op-ed in your tweet, right?
That's what I was trying to say earlier, and I might have misspoke. It's like I'm trying to attach it.
Right. So you included a link, right?
Yes,
to the
that's
op-ed.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So you must have seen the title of the electronic version of the op-ed before you tweeted it, right?
I may have. I just didn't notice it.
Not very careful about what you publish, are you, Ms. Heard?
Whoa.
I just didn't notice the title.
You didn't need to include the link to the electronic version of the op-ed in your tweet, did you?
How else would I have linked it?
Well, you didn't need to include the link to tell the world that today you had published this op-ed in the Washington Post about women who are channeling their rage and about violence and equality into political strength despite the price of coming forward. Right?
I couldn't attach it with a paper clip.
No, but you didn't need to attach it at all to tell the world that you had published an op-ed.
No, the goal was to tweet about it and to provide a link so that people could read it.
The op-ed is in your name, right?
That's correct.
So if you had noticed the title of the electronic version of the op-ed before you included it in your tweet, you could have asked the Washington Post to change it. Isn't that right?
No, that's not.
Okay. But you didn't do that, right? You never asked the Washington Post to change the title.
I didn't notice it, and I didn't ask them, nor do I think I needed to.
At the bottom, do you see that there's another tweet from December 19th, 2018?
Yes, I do.
And in this one, it reads, I am honored to announce my role as an ACLU ambassador on women's rights. Did I read that right?
That's correct.
So you announced your ACLU ambassadorship the same day you posted the op-ed on your Twitter.
I think that was always the plan, is to attach the article with the announcement that I was an ambassador.
Her responses with regards to the article were not the best in the latter half of that clip, because she's like, I didn't notice. I'm like, that's your that's your article.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that if you were publishing something and putting your name on that article, whether or not like she completely wrote it herself or, you know, with the help of a ghostwriter or something, if your name's on it, presumably you'd want to approve every single line.
Well,
and the title.
Let's set that aside. If you had a disagreement with how accurate something is, you would at least try to get it changed.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in that situation and I saw someone put a title like that and I'm like, no, you're absolutely misrepresenting me.
Yeah.
I would probably be calling the person who's my contact there going, hey, can you change that title? Because that's not what I intended. But that's just me. So yeah, maybe she did overlook that, but then it seems weird when you're that concerned about your reputation to not care about a title.
All I can say is the thing I've been saying this whole time, which is it's just not a good look.
I feel like if you're a jury on this court case, you've really got your work cut out for you.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, be nice in the comments.